I'm concerned for her, I'm concerned for her audience, and I'm disappointed with the message and information she has been producing along this journey. Today's the day. Today is the big one. Nearly 3 months in the making, and we finally made it here. So I'm not going to spend too much time waffling at the start of the videos because I think we've got to get into this one. Blogilates, so Cassie, embarked on their 90-day journey to kind of reclaim her love for fitness, rebuild the muscle mass, and kind of get back to a healthier version of her previous bikini competitor standpoint. And the 90-day journey is over. It's done. She's now just released a blog about what's occurred with her results and her thoughts surrounding the journey. And we're gonna dissect, discuss, and I'm gonna give my opinion, which is something that I've been holding back on for a long time now. Because a lot of people popped up saying, Harry, she's claimed she's done this in 30 days, this in 60 days. What are your thoughts? And despite how much I wanted to be like, here's an update video, I was like, no, we're gonna hold back. We're going to hold back till the end, and now we're at the end. But before we crack on the video, you know what must be done. If you like the video, please let me know you like the video by liking the video. 1,250 likes in the first 24 hours is the goal, so if we could reach out, that'd be bloody stupendous. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, drop it down below for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. Hat-wise is an interesting one, because technically, yes, it is a hat, but also you probably find this on the road as well. It's a lot bigger than it should be. I'm a traffic cone. Oh, I'm a very flaccid traffic cone. Oh no. What's happened here? For me to feature the whole hat in the video, I have to do the video like this. And I've got a big head. It gives off summery vibes, which is what we're going for today, because it is a nice day, and for once I'm actually filming in the daytime. I digress. So, video time. I feel like a failure. The end of my 90-day journey. I think regardless of my thoughts on Cassie, and regardless of my thoughts on the journey, I want to kind of pre-state this by stating to Cassie, who will likely never see this video, well done on completing the 90-day journey. At the end of the day, you set a goal, and you completed it. Whether you're happy with the results or not is another thing entirely, but the fact that you said, you know what, I'm going to go for this for 90 days, and you stuck to it, and you completed the 90 days, is a huge win. And we're going to go through the blog bit by bit. We're not going to analyse everything because there are many lines here, but we're gonna go through some key points that I want to bring up because I think they're very relevant and very necessary. You know, I was riding so high after my first 30 days, I didn't even know if I would gain 1 pound of muscle, and I ended up gaining 6.3 pounds of muscle. So essentially, the first 30 days, she claimed that she had gained 6.3 pounds of muscle, which is a lot of muscle mass to gain in a year. It's a hell of a lot of muscle mass to gain in 30 days. And realistically, this kind of goes on to the realm of DEXA scans and their accuracy. It is extremely, I'm never going to say it's impossible because you never know what could happen, but it is extremely, extremely unlikely somebody who is an advanced lifter, even with the consideration of regaining muscle mass, would be able to gain nearly half a stone of pure muscle mass within a 30-day period. That alone, or the lack of accuracy surrounding DEXA scans, which I will get to shortly, alone has ultimately almost set Cassie up for failure here because that result is just so wildly, potentially unachievable. You were never going to match that. You were never going to continue that journey. Think something was going to go eventually. And then to claim that you gained another 2.7 pounds of muscle 30 days later, again totaling 9 pounds of muscle in 60 days, is a lot of muscle. 9 pounds is a lot of anything. Ronnie Coleman, the most successful bodybuilder of all time, 8-time Mr. Olympia, claimed that on a yearly basis, as an advanced lifter, he would gain anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds of muscle, which is a lot of muscle mass. Cassie is claiming that she's gaining that in 60 days. Ronnie, who is heavily enhanced with the elite of the elite genetics, is claiming he might gain up to that in a year. So a lot of things to consider there. And this is a big one, month 3. This is the one that she's really placing a lot of emphasis on because this is the month that didn't really go to plan. The negativity online really got to me. So this is an interesting one because unfortunately, regardless of whether I like Cassie's content, regardless of whether I align with her as a creator, although negativity online is very much a thing, when you put yourself out there to a public platform, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it may be, you are going to likely experience negative comments. Do I agree with negative comments? Absolutely not, because I realistically, as you kind of notice from my videos, whether I agree with someone or disagree with someone, being negative towards them, or essentially bashing them, achieves nothing. The thing that helps me is understanding that negative comments don't come from a happy place. Nobody who is content, happy, secure, feeling good thrives on promoting negativity to those who are creating content, or those they've never met, or even those they have met. So realistically, when I see the negative comments, I just remind myself that, you know what, they might be having a bad day, they might be going through something, or something is occurring that is kind of filling them with negativity and potentially hatred, and they feel like they need to kind of unload it onto me, onto Cassie, whoever it may be. And that's unfortunate, but it's a reality of life. The thing I want to state with Cassie is I've noticed this a lot. And while I am blocked on her Instagram, I have other Instagram accounts I can kind of slither my way into. Cassie does seem to mask a lot of constructive criticism as hatred. I'll see people commenting saying, hey Cassie, really love your stuff, but actually I don't think these results are accurate, or actually I think this might be quite dangerous to your audience, so please be careful. And then Cassie will remove it, or Cassie or someone will reply, this is hate, you're just a hater. This video is probably going to be perceived as hate by Cassie, unfortunately. When in reality it's not hate. This is constructive criticism, because Cassie is one of the biggest fitness creators on this platform with such a powerful reach. As a creator, you have to acknowledge and understand, we do not know everything. You do not know everything. If you make a mistake, you promote something that's incorrect, you have to be willing to, provided the evidence is there, and provided you were incorrect, you have to be willing to say, you know what, hands up, this is my bad. I didn't realise, I'll correct that. Cassie, I feel, is incapable of doing so. I've seen Cassie promote a lot of things I don't agree with, be that product placements or advertisements, whatever it may be that unrealistic expectations for amount of muscle gain you can achieve in 30 days, which can actually be really harmful and damaging to her audience. And this is actually a comment I received a little while ago, basically stating that Cassie Ho from Blogilates gained 9 pounds of muscle, obviously in the 60-day period. I've been training for years and worked on my programming and nutrition the whole time. I've never had a jump that big. I feel like a failure. I do power building and I eat really well, definitely not underfeeding. You can't compare your journey to that of another's. Also the fact that just because the creator is claiming something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. We tend to have a lot of trust in creators. Why would they lie to us? Well, maybe it's not a question of them lying to us, but maybe it's a question of them being misinformed themselves. Maybe they believe it to be true without realizing that maybe it's not. The thing with Cassie is that she promotes a lot of questionable stuff. You know my thoughts on that. You know I'm not very happy with a lot of the stuff she promotes because I believe it genuinely can be damaging. Although I acknowledge and I fully appreciate how she has helped many people start their fitness journey and may continue to help many people embark on that journey towards a fitter and healthier lifestyle, which I do respect and I will always appreciate. When she does promote something that is categorically wrong or potentially misleading and maybe even some cases dangerous or harmful, she's incapable of taking accountability. Every comment that doesn't agree with her is labelled as hate and negativity and is either called out as such or is deleted. And she'll go on about how haters in the comment section are doing this to her, but again, I've seen a lot of the comments that were there and maybe were deleted after I read them, and a lot of them were actually just constructive criticism, and very fair constructive criticism at that. It's not like people haven't tried to help her. Even one of the videos I did in her recently, I say recently, a few months ago now, is I even offered to coach her for her 90-day journey for free after having a look at her workout program and being like, you know what, in all honesty, not trying to be disrespectful, this is not a very good program. And considering Cassie has been in the industry for probably as long as I have, maybe even longer than I have, the program that she had kind of was very comparable to that of a program I would expect a newly qualified PT to make when I started 10 years ago. Number 2, I didn't sleep. Sleep is a big one. We know sleep is key for recovery. At the end of the day, you don't recover when you're in the gym, you recover when you're resting. Sleep is a tricky one. She's only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep. This can have impacts on so many different aspects of your life. Being in like that kind of sleep deficit where you're not getting enough sleep could cause hormonal changes. It could greatly impact recovery and hinder recovery, which is obviously not ideal. If you look at building muscle, could then impact performance, which then in turn will negatively impact your ability to grow and progress. One should strive towards at least 7 hours of sleep a night. I think the kind of golden range is considered like 7 to 9 hours if possible. She speaks about us focus on the protein powder launch. So this is actually going to go into the second part of this video because this is going to be a 2-part video. The first part's going to be discussing obviously the blog and her results. The second part's going to be touching on her protein powder launch. I've had a lot of people ask me to give my opinion on supplements. I thought this would be a really good way of tying it into this kind of journey and doing a supplement heavy video. So look out for that in the near future, potentially week or so. My month 3 goal was misaligned with my overall goal. There's a lot of emphasis on the numbers. She wanted to gain 10 pounds, she wanted to do a 30-day cut at the end of her 60-day bulk, whatever it may be. Again, do I think that's an adequate period of time for like a mass gaining phase? No, I kind of say if you're in that mass gaining phase, a minimum of 4 months, ideally. You could push anywhere from 4 months to a year perhaps, it really does depend. So 60 days certainly is not adequate. So if you're looking at building muscle, you want to spend as much time in a surplus as possible and as little time in a deficit as possible, because you are going to gain more muscle in surplus than you are in a deficit due to heightened energy consumption. Therefore, you can then utilize that energy to then place into progressive overload, better performance in the gym, better gains, better muscle building, better recovery. All the stars essentially align when you're in a surplus. And although it is possible to gain muscle mass in a deficit, that doesn't apply to everybody, and it's also a lot harder to do so, and it's certainly not optimal when considering muscle gain. The big focus on wanting to gain 10 pounds of muscle in 90 days. 1 pound of muscle every 9 days. That's 1 pound of muscle every just over a little bit of a week. That really is a lot. I know a lot of people are going to come here disagreeing and say, oh no, you can gain 10 pounds of muscle in 90 days, but can you? There's a lot of focus on month 3 here, without actually really acknowledging and appreciating the progress made in month 1 and 2. It seems like just because the 3rd month didn't go to plan, that the whole journey was a failure. Again, based on what I'm reading thus far. I know that does change later on. You can't allow the last month to essentially determine and dictate your worth, nor can you allow it to dictate the success of the entire quote-unquote experiment, I guess. I'm not going to touch too much on this because I think a lot of people probably know my thoughts on this. So when looking at like obviously muscle building, and when looking at like weight gain, weight loss goals, whatever it may be, an optimal means of approaching so would be gauging calorie intake and calorie expenditure, so you can control as many variables as possible. You know how many calories you're burning exactly, how many calories you're consuming exactly, so you know how to alter accordingly. Do you need a meal plan? No, I'm not a big fan of meal plans myself. I much prefer, just for me, the macro route where I kind of have my fats, carbs and proteins. I can kind of eat to some extent whatever I want within those numbers. I think meal plans can be even more restrictive. I think they're quite unnecessary for a lot of people. Not everybody, just for a lot of people. But if you like plans, you like plans. You must do what's best for you. I didn't feel motivated. Again, to me, this is very normal. Motivation dips are a part of life. Something may have happened in your personal life, something may have happened at home, work, whatever it may be, that has caused you to have that dip. Flip around, you may just have a dip for no reason, and that's absolutely fine. Whether you approach it with the mindset of, I'm going to crack on anyway, or you approach it saying, you know, I've had a bad day today, let's reset tomorrow. There's no right or wrong. You must do what's best for you, your body, your mental health, and your happiness. If taking a bit of time off after a motivational dip is best for you, I respect it. If powering through helps you, then I respect that as well. But motivational dips are normal. Nobody is motivated 24/7. The results. Baseline, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Fat mass as a whole apparently has reduced. Total mass as a whole has increased. Fat tissue as a whole has reduced. Muscle mass as a whole has increased. So I'm going to chuck some bits and bobs on screen regarding the accuracy of DEXA scans, because ultimately, although DEXA scans are considered one of the more accurate measurements of like body fat, muscle mass, all those bits and bobs, compared to things like the scales you might find in a gym or whatever it may be, doesn't mean they're foolproof. DEXA scans could be very influenced by many things. Hydration is certainly one of them, but that's going to be highlighted on screen probably now. And the unfortunate reality is whether the 30-day mark was more inaccurate than 60-day mark or whatever it may be, there is likely some discrepancy here. There's likely a pickle that has occurred here in which the numbers being shown and highlighted aren't actually accurate or representative of reality, which has ultimately potentially skewed her perception of what's achievable and attainable, and may have done the same to her audience, which again can be extremely damaging and quite scary. And I'm also noticing, which is winding me up already, is that this chair, I've literally had it a week. The thing I've noticed now, I've had 2 chairs now. Actually 3, and that squeaked a lot as well. 3 chairs, all squeaking. What's the one consistent variable with those chairs? With me sat on the chair, what is the one common denominator that could be responsible for the chair squeaking? I know what you're thinking right now, and I think you might be right. But the fact that all 3 of those chairs had 5 wheels, honestly, I completely agree. I don't think there's any other cause for the squeak other than the fact they all had 5 wheels. It must be it. I know someone right now is probably thinking, Harry, the common denominator there is you. Although that may be true, don't attack me with the truth. I'm not ready to hear it. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I am the common denominator. Maybe I am not the squeak, but the cause of the squeak. So yeah, DEXA scans aren't without fault. Do I think she realistically gained 6.3 pounds of muscle in 30 days? Absolutely not. Obviously, like I said, you've got to consider her regaining lost muscle, which is great. But you also got to consider her diet. Was she eating adequate calories and adequate protein? her calorie number we kind of identified previously was concerningly low, it seemed, and also her training was far from optimal. Her sleep's obviously not being great. A lot of things have not aligned. The stars have very much not aligned there. So to claim that she has gained X amount of muscle over this 90 days is a wild claim to make, and it's ultimately, if you ever look at how much muscle 9 pounds of muscle really is, it's a lot of muscle mass. She has done these 90-day challenges before. When I was doing some reading on them, I noticed that she had done them. Is it for the purpose of views? Is it content? What is it for her really, as much as she claims it is? I hope it is, but you never fully know. It's great that Cassie has set a goal, and it's great that she has completed that goal. Although she's unhappy with the results, I feel like she needs to look at the bigger picture, which in fairness she did do here, but I feel like it's very easy to beat yourself up for not achieving what you wanted to achieve and placing too much value and emphasis on the numbers, when in reality the mental test of completing that goal is huge, and the success of reaching the destination is a huge win, if you ask me. And again, despite not achieving what you wanted to achieve, this doesn't just apply to Cassie, this applies to everybody, that the fact that you've achieved something is better than nothing, and you cannot allow numbers to dictate your worth, nor can you allow numbers to dictate whether you are a success or not. And like I said, it's very easy, as Cassie did earlier on, to focus on the negative portion of the challenge without looking at the bigger picture. Where do you start? Where did you finish? Not what the last 30 days said, but what did the whole 90 days say? You've probably made a lot more progress than you might be giving yourself credit for. Cassie claims she did this to rectify her unhealthy past and get in the strongest shape of her life on her terms, which is fantastic. Again, I'm not trying to sound disrespectful, I never am. Her approach to training, from what I saw, seemed problematic. Excessive, obsessive maybe. Her approach to eating, again, it seemed problematic, overly restrictive, too reliant on the numbers, and again, potentially obsessive. Her information and potentially misinformation, there's a lot of it. I think, unfortunately, despite having good intentions, I feel like Cassie, although I can't speak for her, I'm just speaking from an external perspective, I feel like Cassie still very much has an unhealthy relationship with maybe training. I feel like she may indeed have an unhealthy relationship with her body, as many of us do, myself included, to be honest. And I feel like her relationship with food might be questionable as well. Did you really rectify your unhealthy past, or are you allowing that past to become your present? Again, I cannot speak for, I'm merely kind of just spitballing mentally here and just kind of verbalising what I'm thinking. A potentially controversial opinion, and I don't mean any disrespect by it, but I think based on what Cassie promotes, be that relationships with food, training, whatever it may be in bodies perhaps, based on the adverts and brand deals she associates with and sponsors she takes, and based on the information and misinformation she produces, I think in all honesty, Cassie is probably one of the more unintentionally, I like to think, harmful creators on the platform, purely because her reach is so big, but a lot of what she promotes is so questionable and in many cases actually just wrong, can actually really be quite damaging for her audience, which is quite concerning, which is exactly why I want to do videos like this, to help you acknowledge and understand that just because a creator says something doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Just because a creator achieves something doesn't mean that you should strive to achieve that as well, and that despite whatever somebody else is doing, you must do what's best for you, for you. And you can take little bits of information from creators, a bit of motivation here and there, some ideas here and there, but I will always state and always encourage you to do your own research. If something sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is. Like gaining over 6 pounds of muscle in 30 days. I would argue that sounds too good to be true, therefore it may well be. I am concerned for Cassie's health and relationship with all of the things aforementioned. I'm concerned for her audience, and I'm concerned for just people who may stumble across this journey and this goal and think it's a good idea to try and copy it. Just because somebody else is doing something doesn't mean you should as well. Take everything Cassie says with a pinch of salt, and please don't ever take information produced by any content creator or anybody as gospel. Cross-reference it, do your own research. If you have any questions or are unsure about anything, please just drop me a DM. Again, I'm not saying I know everything, but I will always try my best to help. And if I ever get it wrong, I'll hold my hands up, say, you know what, I made a mistake, but now I'm learning. Thanks for pointing that out. What do I feel Cassie could have done differently to better improve her likelihood of success for this journey, to maybe better optimize how much muscle she gained over this 90-day period? The first thing I would probably say is eating. I feel like, again, I don't know Cassie's details and all her bits and bobs, but I feel like maybe eating a bit more and being a bit more mindful of calorie intake and expenditure, which I'll get to shortly, as well as protein consumption. So increasing calories and increasing protein consumption to then better optimize recovery as well as performance, thus potentially leading to a better result when looking at muscle gained. Number 2 is sleep. Obviously the last 30 days sleep was iffy. Again, we kind of identified earlier that that's something that probably needs to be addressed and something that could have been better, which may have improved her performance, thus leading to more gains, love to see it. The third one being training. I did identify this the first time this kind of journey started, where I looked at her training plan and the volume was excessive, the cardio was excessive, and the intensity was likely lacking. So what I would have done personally if I were Cassie is reduce the amount of cardio and the kind of calorie expenditure work and maybe replace the running with just walking. I would have then changed the training day so it's maybe 5 more kind of resistance focused days, and maybe something like a legs, push, pull, rest, lower, upper, rest, something like that, or maybe a different split like legs, push, pull, rest, legs, push, pull, rest, etc. And essentially limiting the number of exercises to, let's say, about no more than 7, for example, ensuring that volume isn't excessive, so maybe anywhere from like 14 to 18 sets per workout as an entirety, ensuring that intensity is there, so training to, if not close to failure, and giving yourself more of a rep range. A lot of her stuff previously was like 4 sets of 15, 4 sets of 20, things along those lines. Maybe less 4 sets of 15 and maybe more 2 sets of 6 to 20 and or maybe 3 sets of 8 to 15. So staying within that kind of 5 to 30 kind of golden rep range for hypertrophy, reducing the number of sets and giving yourself more variety when looking at rep ranges and more leeway, so you're not isolated to just doing 15, but you have that kind of 15 to 20, 10 to 20, 5 to 18, something like that. And then just ensuring movement selection was good. A lot of the movements she covered in her initial plan were quite subpar. Some of them weren't very good movements, so I maybe just better optimize movement selection. Again, which is exactly why I did offer to coach her. I felt like I could better provide her with a different perspective and hopefully beneficial insight into optimizing hypertrophy and resistance training to help her better achieve her goals, whilst also potentially educate her so she can better inform her audience. Those are just some of the things that if I were Cassie or if I were coaching Cassie, I would have changed personally. Sure, there are other things I maybe would have dabbled with, and granted, I do need more information to really specifically state I would have done this and this. First impressions from external standpoint, those are probably some of the big things I would have looked at, in addition to a few other bits and bobs. So I guess in conclusion, it's great that Cassie has achieved this. It's great that she reached the end of it. I respect it. It's great that she has hopefully helped some people on their journey, which I will always appreciate. I'm concerned for her. I'm concerned for her audience, and I'm disappointed with the message and information she has been producing along this journey. Unrealistic expectations when it comes to muscle gain. I feel like potentially using this journey as a means of selling a product, potentially to promote her supplement line, her protein powder, so many bits and bobs. Less time focusing on the value of numbers, more time focusing on how you look, how you feel, and what your progress is saying. If you're going to the gym and your goal is hypertrophy, so muscle building, and you are lifting more or doing more each week, therefore progressively overload each week, you're making progress. If you wake up in the morning and you say, you know what, I feel good, I feel happy, I feel content, you're making progress. Numbers only tell one side of the story. Please don't allow that chapter to essentially determine the outcome of the book. That is it. That is part 1 of this video. Like I said, part 2 will occur hopefully in the next week or so and create more of an in-depth video regarding supplements, their purpose, their place, and all those good bits and bobs. But now, obviously, we must crack on with comment question of the week. I currently go to the gym 4 times a week and do 2 upper body days and 2 lower. I've been doing 1 push day and 1 pull day for upper body, but would I see better results if I combine them and just did an all-over upper body day and do the same movements both days? What I would try and do personally is I believe you are likely going to see better results if you train the push muscles and the pull muscles twice a week rather than once a week. So yes, I would personally combine them, so you do 2 upper body days and 2 lower body days, but I wouldn't necessarily do the same movements on those days. I'd essentially have upper body A, upper body B, lower body A, lower body B. And so you have 4 different workouts in a week, but you repeat those workouts each week. And just make sure your intensity is there, because if your intensity isn't there, the muscle gain will not be as juicy and bloody well splendid as it could be. If at any point you like the video, please let me know you like the video by dropping a like on the video. 1250 likes on the video in the first 24 hours is the goal, so if we could reach that, that'll be bloody tremendous. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below and maybe subscribing to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you two have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, drop it down below for comment question of the week and I will do so. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating the very large cone on my head and very squeaky chair, and thank you for tolerating the video.